the unique advantage that we have to make sure that we get the best return on investment. So whether it's through the active policy or leveraging networks and talking through the different stakeholders to see how we can best leverage that advantage, things are well underway, and I'm confident that in the next 5 years, Anguilla will be in a much better fiscal position than it is right now, and the future is only bright.
Minister Hodge, um, after the GST reform, you mentioned that they'll be continuously looking at how the reform is taking place and the advantages or disadvantages they are. Um, how are we looking right now? Some persons are complaining, some persons are grateful. What is the response from the ministry, and how effective is the reform?
Yeah, it's a mixture of reviews out there. I can say for certain that as it relates to the construction and the hardware sector, we are hearing positive results, positive news. Myself, I would have gone to hardware recently and noticed a reduction because apparently they still had their old price with the GST included up, which is not the right way to do it. But it was able to show me that, hey, what we did with the reform, it worked. So when I got to the register to pay, the price was lesser than what was on the shelf. So that kind of displayed to me that, hey, this thing really worked for us. In restaurants, we would see where on your overall bill, it is 13% less because you don't have to pay the 13% GST anymore. And I would have gotten some direct reports from servers who would have said that their tips increase. And I would have spoken to people that visited the island during the summer vacation who expressed to me that, hey, had you guys not done what you did, I may not have been so generous with tips, right? So we come to supermarkets now where there's more volatility, monitoring, the items in the stores. It takes a lot more time because of the differences in brand, the differences in size and type. It's an ongoing process with the supermarkets. The consumer affairs unit, they have a report that they are finalizing, and once their report is done, I'll bring the report to the public. Whether it sounds good, whether it sounds bad, the report is the report, and the public deserves to hear what the report contains. I would have gotten some preliminary information from the report that indicates that some supermarkets, they would have noticed some savings to the consumers, and others not so much. So I can't wait for that report to be finalized, and we can share it with the general public.
You have also spoke about plans to developing a portal to see prices across all the goods, various supermarkets. How is that progressing?
Yeah, we're working on it. I was just in contact with a minister in Barbados because they have the something very similar, and we are getting full appreciation and understanding for what all goes into it, and then from there we'll just take it in house and work with whether dates, whether we have to contract it privately, because the sooner the better.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Sazam Hall from Class FM Radio. My first question is for Paulsec Richardson. You said during your presentation that works at the airport is 90% completed. My question is, what is the set date that was agreed upon in the contractual agreement where the contractors are obligated to turn the project over to the government?
I'm not privy to that information. I don't know if Mr. Vanderpool.
Thanks for the question. The original date that was scheduled for the opening of the airport terminal, I believe, would have been November 17th. And as discussed before, due to a number of different reasons, we expected about a 3-week delay. So we're currently expecting the airport terminal building to be officially opened within the first or second week of December. So it's not that much of a delay based on the time that was originally scheduled.
No, but I think the time when it's supposed to be open is different to when the contractors should turn over the building to the government. There's a time for completion, I think, and there's a time when the contractors should turn over the building. I'm not speaking about the actual opening of the building. I'm speaking when the contractors should turn over the building to the government.
So the actual handover of the terminal building to the government is a process that takes place. It doesn't just happen as you get the keys today. Government and the contractors will walk the building together once the contractor says that, okay, we've completed this scope of works. The team from the government and the evaluators will then process and say, okay, we need that change, or we're not happy with this. We think that we'd like to see this amended. And then through the process of operational readiness and testing, the contractor will go back and make those arrangements before the final handover is made. So we're currently in the middle of that process where we're evaluating, we're meeting, and we're going through the operational readiness and testing while the main security equipment at the airport is being installed.
And based on work that have been done, you're confident that it's going to be open in December?
By all accounts and all reports that I've gotten and from walking it myself, yes.
My second question is for Minister Hodge. You spoke about those developers at Savannah Bay, where you said that you have been in contact with them. I think government would have changed sometime in February, so there have been a 10 months gap since the government has changed. And the fact that it took so long to reach out to you, it means that they have been playing a bit of dodgeball. My question is there a time frame where those lands should be developed? And if there's a time frame, are those investors aware of that time frame when the lands should be developed?
Yeah, they should be aware of the time frame. We still need to meet and have a very in-depth conversation. I wouldn't characterize it as dodgeball. You know, they would have experienced a hurricane back in Florida, where they reside and where they currently operate different businesses. So perhaps that would have been a setback as well. And I would have heard the former premier express this as well. I don't want to come to any judgment as to why we have not gotten in touch with them sooner. I am quite happy that we have finally made contact. And you know, the blame and that thing, I'm not interested in nothing now of the past. I think we need now to just look forward and try to wrap this up as best as possible.
You said that they have been speaking to two chains, hotel chains, I think you said. Are you aware of any hotels that those chains have developed in other countries?
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing for me to publicize at this moment. They're having some private conversations with two of those chains, and they're gonna have more conversations with others. So while they undergo their negotiations in private agreements, I just wanna, you know, we're gonna wait to see what is the final outcome of their various negotiations that they will have.
Okay, my final question is for Minister Brian. About 2 months ago, you spoke about a sporting facility, which I think you said will be comprised of volleyball, baseball, cricket, etc. What is the update on that facility?
Thank you for the question. I believe you're referring to the sports hub. That's the same one I spoke about in my report. And as I mentioned, we are close to the final design of the Albina Lake Hot Comprehensive School Sports Hub. And the new approach that we're having right now, it will include the 200-meter track, the covered facility, which will host volleyball, netball, tennis, and basketball within that covered facility. And the other sports that also will be included is, as I mentioned, the batting cages, 8 batting cages, which will be housing batting practice for cricket, baseball, and also golf will participate in that for their practices, 5v5 football field. So we are still in the planning stages, but we are very close to the final. So once that's also finalized, we will bring the final report.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Pleasant afternoon, Shavian 018 Voices Radio. To the Honorable Minister Hodge, as it pertains to Rendezvous Dune Club, who are the developers or investors, and are there any other updates you can give us about that project?
I met with him this morning. Um, the principals of Rendezvous Dune Club. I know one of them. You know, they are a longtime visitors, lover of Anguilla, who just wanted to buy a home. Build a villa, and have that for his vacation purposes, and also to be able to rent it from time to time. He would have purchased some property in Rendezvous, as you said, and based on the size of the parcel of land, there are requirements um, to be followed. You can't own more than a half acre of beachfront property without it being some form of tourism development product. So he was engaged by the relevant technocrats, and it was explained as to what are the requirements based on the size of land purchase, and based on the size of land purchase, it is required that he builds at least a 32 room boutique hotel. So we are working through the MOU, and we're working with planning to ensure that we have the correct room density that matches the acreage that was bought.
So, in other words, it's not one of those properties to say really, how to say it, um, more so for the competition, or to say a part of the local hospitality competition, but more so as a way of filling contractual or requirement terms for the property.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, his history is not in hotel development, but he is a businessman who loves Anguilla and who wants to get involved. He will then look for a management company to run his property once it's completed.
Can you tell us at what stage it's at, or are we still at the preliminary stages?
Yeah, we're just about ready to finalize the MOU. He would have had drawings already done.
Mm.
So the next step is to sign the MOU and for him to submit his final plans to be approved by planning. Once those two things are done, then he would move on to breaking ground.
Awesome, thank you for that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who this question goes to, but it's been brought to my attention that there has been some bags of cement, some massive bags of cement sitting down at Sandy Grounds Port. It's been said that it has been sitting there for about 8 months, and the question I'm asking is, who owns it? What taxes have been paid on it, and what is being done about it? Because from how it sounds as though it's sat there, it's gotten hardened. So what's happening with it?
Yeah, I'm aware of the cement in Sandy Ground. Actually, if you drive on Back Street and look over, you'll see lots of bags. For the time that it has been there, it does raise some questions as to whether or not it would be actioned, because the way the process works, when you import goods, you then pay your customs duty, and then you pay your ASPA fees, and the fact that these cement bags are still there, it would mean that customs duties were not paid, and perhaps ASPA fees were not paid. And I know from past instances, ASPA doesn't have any power to waive fees, because I did hear at one point that there was some communication, because they wanted to have the cement bags out and they wanted some fees waived, but ASPA does not have any power to do that. In terms of the condition of those bags of cement, I don't have any information on that. But they have been there for quite some time, and we have been battered by a lot of rainfall and some storms of recent. So it's a very interesting question. I know customs, there's a procedure. Once something is impounded for so long, the next step would be to do a public action. I'm answering, but I don't know if the premier has anything to add to it.
I think you've answered quite well, Minister. Yes, it is currently, I don't believe that it has been cleared um, from customs and it would be accruing fees. And so I'm not familiar in terms of exactly the notice that has been sent out, the time frame for auction, etc. But there is a process, an established process that when items are not collected at the port, that they would go up to auction at some point in time.
Thank you for your responses. To Mr. Vanterpool, can you give us a timeline as to when lands will be acquired for runway extension?
Thank you for the question. This matter actually falls under the Ministry for Economic Development, Lands and Planning. However, what I can say is that the matter is currently with the Director of Lands, and in order to help accelerate the process, we're looking at establishing a committee to various different stakeholders to help accelerate that process by, instead of putting the burden all on one person, to help share the load and maximize efforts. I'm not sure if Minister Hodge would want to add anything else to that.
Yeah, if I can add, we hope to have all the lands acquired by end of year. We would have engaged a company from the BVI just recently for their services to come in and help us to evaluate a certain number of those parcels. And we have also put together a committee that will assist the land acquisition manager, who is Mr. Leslie Hodge. He's the director of lands, and he is also designated as the land acquisition officer. So in order to give him the help that he needs, we created a committee of other technocrats that will aid in the evaluation, aid in the negotiation. You know, I don't recall how many landowners. I don't remember that number. If anybody else remember, yeah, for the land acquisition project, yeah, it's upward of 30 landowners that we have to negotiate with.
So essentially what's delaying the process is the number of land acquisitions and staffing, or because what I'm trying to understand is at least what is delaying the process, or is this usually is course?
Well, there's a process to be followed, and there are many competing things throughout government. So we find it fit and necessary to give the director of lands some assistance. So we believe that by end of year, this will all be completed.
Okay. Thank you. My last question, to any of the government ministers really. The last 8 months have been rocky and rough. How does the government feel going into the new financial year, considering the budget is tomorrow?
Feel pretty good. And we'll encourage everyone to listen to the budget address tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right, I think that brings us to the end of this press conference. And so we would thank all of you who have joined us, whether in person, or social media, or radio. Thank you and have a wonderful week.
Oh, what singing. Oh, what shouting on that appeal.